Housing prices to slump, unemployment to spike, and recession to set in. This is according to Harvard economist Kenneth Rogoff, and we've been talking about all these things on this channel for quite a while. Hey, welcome back, guys. This is Chris, and this is your daily news. The one that really caught me today is essentially unemployment estimates. So the Fed is saying it could be like, say, 4.6% unemployed next year. We know that right now it's about 3.7%, and I've been warning you guys about this for a long time that essentially Americans are going to lose their jobs. If it goes to 4.6%, about 1 million Americans will lose their jobs, and in fact, if it goes higher, say like 5.6%, it would be another million, so that would be 2 million total. So every percentage point that unemployment goes up, you're looking at around 1 million Americans that will lose their job. It's going to get really scary out there for a lot of people, and that's why we're talking about this and just getting you guys prepared. You can take a look at this one here. Too Simple, they're a company. They're in like essentially self-driving, robot driving trucks, and they're basically laying off half their workers. It just doesn't look good for some of these kind of companies. Also, too, the Fed needs to keep interest rates elevated for quite some time in order to control inflation. I was looking at this chart here, and essentially this shows you sort of where we are, both wages and inflation. And the basic gist of it, this is that this shows you that core inflation is like what, 6%-ish, in that range. The Fed wants to get to 2%, so we're triple to where we want to be in terms of inflation. If you look at the blue is your inflation, and then your red is sort of like where your wages are. Now wages, as they stay elevated, in order for when things cost a lot of money, people need money, so they want more wages to pay for said goods, and that raises the cost of expenses for companies, right? You got to pay people more money. So that's just basically telling you that it's going to be really, really tough to control for inflation because wages are up and inflation and prices are still up as well. If you take a look at like around the world, it is not just the USA, it is a global phenomenon that things cost a lot. There was an interesting chart here that was saying basically, okay, you have your headline inflation, which again includes your food and your energy, and then you have your core inflation, which doesn't include food and energy, essentially. The reason why you would have two different measures is because food and energy can be really, really volatile. Now, the food and energy has dropped down in price a bit, right? So you certainly see a decreasing inflation there, and they call that headline inflation. However, core inflation still remains elevated. This compares the UK, US, Canada, and the Euro. Evidently, our service inflation in the US is actually quite high. I believe that's due to wages. So if you're paying like more for haircuts and massages and any of these kind of things, maybe gardening would fit in there as well. But just essentially wages are elevated compared to other countries, and these things are hard to control. This is why inflation will be very, very tough to deal with, because once you start paying employees more money, even for example, say like the unions, negotiate higher contracts, you don't really bring that money down at all, right? It stays elevated, and it creates essentially what you call a feedback loop where you pay people more, prices go up, people want to get paid more, etc. That's why it's a feedback loop. Turning to the markets, we can read the headlines here. Stock market's brutal year leaves Wall Street with little faith in a rebound. And then the subtitle is like, Fed's path is key with market at the mercy of the rate hikes. Yes, and that is totally true. You're at the mercy of the Fed. And the Fed's got to keep interest rates elevated until inflation comes down. That's why I showed you the charts before. And then when interest rates are up, it's hard for stocks to do well. Mostly companies struggle. Interest rates high affects a lot of things. Consumers, for example, if they have to, go into the auto dealership, I was talking about cars, but if they have to get a car loan, it's going to be like, 11, 12%, 50%. It just like turns off people to buying cars, right? And this would be any number of things where elevate interest rates basically slow down the economy. The other thing is too, is you can take a look at this. This is a chart basically looking at stock performance of the S&P over the last 20 or so years. We're not quite as down as far as say 0809, but we are down. A lot of the estimates that I've read is that people think that there's going to be essentially a disappointment in company earnings in the first, maybe even second quarter of 2023. And then that may or may not be the bottom, right? I can't predict the 100, but I'm just giving you some estimates. Other ones have said, you know what? We may have a bit of a crash early 2023, but then things are going to rally around, right? Some people say that. Other people said, I read another one was pretty interesting, was saying that like, say, the last 10 years, you can maybe get 10, 12%, something like that in the market. Maybe going forward, you can only get maybe 5% a year, something like that in the market. So just giving you guys a bit of, estimates of what it could be. Now, one of the things that was really interesting, this chart here, you guys can take a look at this. I always like to show you guys charts so you can make up your own mind in these things. But this is basically saying, okay, when inflation has peaked, what has the market done after that. So this is after inflation has peaked, a year after, what is the S&P return? Now the average is 13.21%, okay? So that's essentially saying, to try to interpret it a little bit, if you believe inflation is peaked, right, then the market would go up maybe 13% on average. However, you can take a look at some of these things. In March 2000, it went down 21% after inflation peaked. September, 2011 went up 30%, right? So, it's hard to say exactly what it's going to do. My personal opinion on this, though, is that essentially the Fed's got to keep interest rates elevated in order to slow down the economy and slow down inflation. However, if they slow down the economy too much, then they'll start cutting rates, but that will signal, guys, things are really bad in the economy, and the stocks may even do worse. So, who knows 100%. I'm just trying to give you some charts and give you a general gist of where we are. And generally speaking, was basically good advice in these times like this when interest rates are going up. I mean, one is you got to pay off those variable rate credit cards, right? That's pretty good advice for anyone, because you don't want to be paying like 18, 20, whatever percent it is. You're just going to get killed on interest. The other thing is too, savings accounts are actually pretty good these days. I keep reading all over the internet. It's like 3 to 4% just a savings account. Like pile up cash and you get free money in interest, which for many, many years, savings accounts were terrible because interest rates were so low. And also CDs aren't bad either. So, if you're looking at playing the market or looking doing, any of these kind of things, I'd just say diversify and, don't sleep on savings accounts. Also, too, don't sleep on Series I bonds. I've mentioned that before on this channel. Also, too, the World Cup was really fun. We actually watched it. That was last night for us because we're in Korea. It was a midnight games time start and ended like at 3. If you don't know who won, Argentina won. It was in a penalty kick, a shootout, and it was really, really exciting. Argentina had the lead for quite a while, and then France scored a couple goals in the last 10 minutes of the game, and then it went into overtime, which is really crazy. And then they had it was actually really fun. They had the penalty kick, and then basically how these things work is, if you guys watched this stuff before, I think the keeper basically has to commit one way or the other because it's too hard to try to play the reaction game. If you guys have any strategy on that, I'd love to hear your thoughts on what the keeper should do. I just think just always go to the if the guy is right-footed, go to the say left side because he's going to kick it to the right. That's what it seemed like to me. And then on the losing team, there's a French player named was it Kylian Mbappe? He won the Golden Boot Award. Basically, he had got the most goals in the World Cup. I think he had was it 3 or 4 in the final match. He just scoring all the goals for France. He's really good. So we'll see him a while. I think this is Messi's probably last game because I think he's 35 or something like that. And also too, get this, Elon Musk was at the game, and also get this, he's hanging out with Jared Kushner. I'm not surprised, but I was just wait, what the heck? Basically, if you don't know, so that's Ivanka Trump's husband. So it's obviously very, very political, and I don't shy away from politics. I just tell you guys this is what it is, and that's what it is. Elon Musk is hanging out with Jared Kushner. He's up in Qatar doing that kind of stuff. If you're interested in Twitter news, there's always something crazy going on with Twitter. This time, there's a couple things. So one is, I knew that they were banning links to Mastodon, which is a competitive sort of Twitter kind of other platform. I've tried to use Mastodon myself. It's not as friendly in terms of signing up and things. And I signed up and I don't even remember which website of Mastodon was. So, because there's a bunch of different servers. It's not friendly. But the interesting thing that they added to their policy as well is they don't want people promoting their Facebook, Instagram, or I think True Social's on the list. There's a bunch of different ones on there. Yeah, Facebook, Instagram, Mastodon, True Social, Tribal, Nostr, and Post. I don't even know what some of these others are. But basically, it's not free speech over at Twitter. They don't want you promoting, other platforms, which I get it, but it's clearly not free speech. So Elon Musk is a liar in that regard. If you disagree, let me know. I'd love to hear from the Elon fanboys and fangirls. Also in international news, this is actually pretty big news. Japan is changing its stance on its military. Essentially, they're adding offensive capabilities. They're going to use the word retaliation, something like that. But this is a change from, say, post-World War II, when both Japan and Germany were supposed to essentially just have defensive forces, right, self-defense forces or / garrison, but not necessarily anything offensive where you could attack another country or send troops to another country. So we'll see how far this goes, but essentially Japan is going to increase their spending and increase the size of their military. Also, too, in entertainment, Avatar, which we saw on opening day here in Korea. I highly recommend the movie. I can't say more positive things about a movie. And if you like movies and you like to go to the movie theater, Avatar is the kind of movie you want to go see. I think it's great. Not evidently though, not everyone thought it was so great, or not everyone wanted to spend the money quite yet. So they missed on their opening weekend. I think they were hoping for like 150 million opening, and maybe they came in like 130, I think is what it was. One thing though is that it's in wide release. It's playing everywhere, and this could be the kind of movie that runs for a long time. You know, maybe runs for 6 months or something like that. It's really good. So just go see it. I don't work for Disney. I'm not, you know, paid to say this stuff. I think it's a good movie. That's all I have to say. And then The World of Crime. I did a full video on this one. This is Sam Bankman-Fried. You can watch the full video, but if you didn't see that, I'll just give you a gist. He may be coming to the USA. He's going to go to the Bahama court on Monday, is the rumor, and say, hey, send me back to the USA. One thing too, which I missed, I just didn't see this before, but this was earlier. They were saying he's got like 256 million in Bahamas real estate, and so as I mentioned several times on the channel, a lot of the money is gone. Like I've read you know, some estimates of like $8 billion of customer money just disappeared. But you know, John Ray, who's trying to recover assets, can essentially sell physical assets, and this is some of it. 256 million in Bahama real estate, but there may be a fight between the U.S. and Bahamas on you know, who gets that money after they sell it. Also in The World of Crime, this is a story that's been interesting. You probably saw this in the headlines in passing, but basically there's a big corruption scandal with the EU. And it turns out now you have Qatar diplomats might be involved. I was reading through this stuff. But basically, it has to do with energy policy and bribing politicians in the EU to adjust policy. I don't think this will be the end of corruption regarding this kind of stuff. Frankly, guys, I'm sure you know this. It's just the way that it is. You know, countries like Saudi Arabia or Qatar, something like that, they got oil money over there. They got a ton of money. They buy off people, and they'll keep trying to dominate the energy trade, you know, for as long as they can. I've said it multiple times in this channel, and I will say it again. My personal opinion, you know, if I were running the USA, I would say, you know, be developing energy independence, be developing alternative energy, sell that technology to other countries, and make money doing it, create jobs for Americans. I just think that is the most American thing to do, is use entrepreneurship to create good energy policy and make money. It's I don't think it's crazy. And hopefully get out of the dominance of foreign oil. That's my opinion on that thing. Also, too, you can see this story in The World of Crime. There was a Michigan mom who was catfishing her own daughter. It's like, what? And the other thing, too, which is crazy as well, she was trying to like frame her daughter's friend. It's like, this is just nuts. And it was 5 counts, 2 counts of using computer to commit a crime, 2 counts of stalking a minor, and 1 count of obstruction of justice. So you used a computer, you stalked your own kid and kid's friends, and you also lied to police, essentially, obstruction of justice, something like that. And they were saying there's like 349 pages worth of harassing text and social messages. And then she was also using like a VPN to hide her location when sending said messages. So moral of the story is, be nice to your kids, please. Don't stalk them. Don't send them messages, and don't pose to being someone else online. This is just the world that we live in. We got a lot of crazy, nefarious people out there. That's why I tried to like come out to you guys every single day with a smile and say, hey guys, this is your daily news. And hey guys, this has been your daily news. Hope to see you guys next time.